Hello, welcome to the Cobra Kai commentary for Season 6, Episode 1. So, as I've noted everywhere else, all the recordings were done before Season 6, which I kind of regret because, I don't think I found out about the 6 being the final season until much later. So, I had plenty of opportunity, to do all of those, and I do have less opportunity now, hence why um um yeah, you get the idea. There's those chances, and I took them when doing all of those commentaries. And then yeah, that's the thing, because if I did try and do the complete package now, I feel like that would be extremely slow to do. But regardless, at least it will be a bit fresher for the commentary have to have let's see, how do I say this? Um, just seeing like how seeing everything so far, and then see how a lot of it starts to pay off, and yeah, with just seeing how it goes. If any more flaws that are fixed. How many other ideas did they play with? Yeah, sorry with the rustler, by the way. Let's get to my area set up. Okay, so without further ado, I did watch the part 1 of season 6 when it was first out, so yeah, I haven't seen it since, so yeah, it'll be really nice to get to. So yeah, without further ado, let's go in 3, 2, 1, go. Yeah, I think this has been the longest amount of like waiting time, isn't it? Because season 4 to 5 I remember being the shortest. And do I have subtitles on? I do. Okay, that's good. But yeah, we'll get to the scene. But yeah, I think I might have mentioned it before, where season 5 and 425 was like less than a year, but I feel like this was like a year and a bit. Yeah, they did really have to plan it, especially if it's going to be 15 episodes in the season, despite the um um yeah, despite the 3 different parts. Anyway, it's just really nice to get a catch up with all their characters, because I think, so, considering how far along it's been, they just thought, hey, that's what we've all been up to. And yeah, we see Johnny's family and Daniel's family just then, and then the rest of the kids as well. Yeah, it just because I feel like without the hype at the moment, there is almost like some kind of finality to it, where this is like a really nice status quo for everyone. Um, before the final stage really gets on top of everyone. Yeah, I wonder how long they've last met. Daniel, Anthony and Kenny. I wonder how long they've when they last spoke. I assume it's good few weeks at least. Especially if that's just been dumped. Yeah, if that's like a mirroring shot of Daniel, once looked at the side like that when Cobra Kai was back in season 1, but just seeing that out the way. Yeah, because what's also like another interesting approach is that they don't know Cobra Kai's like still around, but the upcoming tournament that is um um yeah, it's just focusing on that, and then you need to find out that Cobra Kai's still around, so the stakes are immediately raised right at the end of part 1. Anyway, so they're a bit happier, a bit more, in a sense, their main foes are out the way. Oh yeah, so yeah, they've been told about Kreese escaping, so yeah, don't know what's happening with him, and yeah, that's just another thing that's going on, because it's because I remember in season 3 where despite like some hint of a tournament coming up, it was like centered on just normal lives, and yeah, the kids have college coming up, which would be college is a US equivalent to UK university, isn't it? Yeah, that's a tricky stage. Like trying to find the right one in that. And yeah, so Daniel has the idea of quitting karate, and now Cobra Kai will definitely have no chance. Well, if they win, of course. Oh yeah, by the way, this is just commentary on just the first part. I won't be talking about part 2 and part 3 yet, so I think that's what's going to be like, because I'm all up to date to season 6 episode 5. That's the latest that the commentary is at, and I think you might assume that I think that might be the case with the rest of the episodes, but I'll just give you a heads up whether whichever stage and which episodes I've watched with each commentary. At least you're updated now. But anyway, sorry about that. So yeah, Johnny's hoping to get a lot of success after the tournament, which he definitely needs that, because I think he's still that taxi / delivery job from season 5, isn't he? And sadly he's lost his dojo, but at least he can share with Daniel now that they're getting on better at the moment. But certainly I haven't forgotten what he's done. A billion times did he try and... He must have been passing them at school very often, I suppose. But yeah, looks like he's forgiven, and looks like he must be good at designing t-shirts. Probably done on a website, and sorry, I'm just stalling, aren't I? But just to round up, it just looks like what's his face, like putting both logos together. It looks like it's endeared a lot to them, and hopefully won't go into any mischief. Well, there's no reason to, Cobra Kai's gone. Not that the kind of items you would see in a dojo like this. But also from earlier, it's also interesting to see all of those particular characters, outside of Kreese and Kim, see like almost everyone together in that way. Because just remember the days where Robbie and Tori were on the opposite sides. But anyway, so yeah, Johnny and Daniel still have their what would you say? Just not always agreeing on everything, and in this case, it's how much input towards the students, because season 4 and I get and also no, that will just stick to season 4, like how they eventually learned to blend styles, but now it's just figuring out how much input towards it. I haven't done one of these commentaries in ages, but I've started to feel like my throat muscles are starting to ache. I think that's what struck to me. Anyways, I do remember this funny moment. I just thought of new logo, because yeah, for those who haven't seen the episode, yeah, they decided to all stick under Miyagi, which which is an interesting choice. Well, obviously you can't really have two dojos in one, because I can't see that working in a professional tournament. But Miyagi is the one with the legacy, and Eagle Fang was, it is still Johnny just trying to still find his way, but it's almost as if the story's trying to say that in order for Johnny to properly get working together, I think that's where it's just attempting to I guess acknowledge and respect more of Miyagi-Do's ways, and for all of them to be Miyagi at the end. It's because Eagle Fang is definitely cool, and Johnny's teaching still continues. It's just it's just more under one banner. And not to mention when Stingray appears, because it's Stingray's role in this bit. I'm starting to think like that could be the last time we see him. Well, I guess we'll see what happens with Stingray at the rest of season 6. But regardless, he kind of reminds Johnny that all of that started because of him, and I think that made Johnny think, oh, you know what, I regretted creating Cobra Kai, and Eagle Fang could accidentally be alike that. So I think Johnny decided to go to be all Miyagi to really show that he's moved on. I think that's the direction it's going for, because when it comes to these final chapters, you do want to make like the best story decision made, and I'm all for it. Anyway, we see the 4 of them started to get on, but obviously the ladies need to the type starting to get on. And understandably it is a bit weird for her, because I feel like it's been like a week or two. Maybe I missed something. Oh, there you go. Oh yeah, I remember a reference to the first film that's gonna come up shortly. Because if for those who haven't seen the season yet, Kenny isn't seen. Like he was last seen at the end of episode 4, and he's definitely not gonna come to the tournament. And from the new photo updates about part 2, he's not exactly watching the tournament at the house either. I feel like the third part might answer that. Not to mention, I'm hoping Terry will be in that second part, if not the third part. Even if season 5 gave him like a well presented defeat story wise, it will be cool to see him once more. Yeah, he still likes his Rocky films. But yeah, this is the current the conflict at the moment, where the risk at Johnny and Chosen, the risk of having a duel, and what Daniel just said right there about jeopardizing the balance. That I think that's pretty much going to be the theme throughout this whole season, and just a cool one. I do like this moment as well. Yeah, I think that just shows how his income still isn't great at the moment, and hopefully the tournament will be like a game changer for him. Yep. And that's yes, it's a very long time since we last visited Coyote Creek, because I think there will be like some kind of debate on you know on like if are these flashbacks needed, but I think this season wants because of how long it's been, I think they wanted more of a emphasis on like the flashbacks, because using flashbacks can be a filmmaking style, because in the fifth Harry Potter, for instance, that uses flashbacks quite a bit and in the way that's needed. Granted, in Cobra Kai they backed more as reminders, but I guess it just shows what the character's thinking about. So yeah, because it's not just that. Just like watching the film, it's the colours are like more highlighted and are even brighter. So has the budget gone up? I'm not sure, um, but yeah, I like the look of it. I don't know which season I like the look of the best. There you go. Here's the season 1 reference. Yeah, I wonder if Daniel's told him that, unless that's a coincidence. Because I can imagine Daniel quickly sharing stories like, "Oh yeah, I did this in front of Ali once," and Robbie's taking blame. Yeah, because Canigo also kind of represents what would have happened to some students where, um, they have little to nothing to do, because the dojo would have been a big part of their routine, like a more whether in or out of the dojo, but and yeah, can only it does represent that, because I think there might be other kids who uh, probably feel the same way, or they just move on, or even learn karate elsewhere. That's what Devon did in the 5th season. Anyway, we just met him, the brother. Yeah, he's out of prison, and keep an eye on Kenny. So at least Kenny has someone, but yeah, it looks like all of them are on board to get hold of Kenny. Just simple talking and admitting there's mistakes, that doesn't seem to be enough. And that's a reference to the second film. Yeah, that's what the uncle was doing. Yeah, not to mention, somehow Chosen becomes absent in the last couple of episodes. Because I think maybe it is, he does go to Japan for a bit, but does he? But I thought I saw him in the. Oh yeah, by the way, today's been the trailer for the second part, so yeah, he does come back, but yeah, I'm just wondering why he wasn't around and what that would have looked like. 80. Oh my gosh. But yeah, because like all of those lads, they did get drunk at the party, and before fighting Terry and that. But yeah, it looks like Chosen still fought professionally. I think he probably blames the drinking on losing to Terry, but Jason was only distracted. But they were talking about Mercy as well, so I think he feels bad for that. And I've been out admitted about trying to call Kamiko as well, and to not have an answer. Yeah, so something that kind of brings him down, because even earlier, to see him tearing on the newspaper, that too would have bothered him, because he's spent his majority of his life losing, like with the uncle belittling him and Josie not doing like anything, but just getting rejected by everyone, and yeah, I think that's just because he's not like a sore loser, but he kind of sees, his failures as extremely detrimental to his honour and that. Yeah, because I remember at the start of season 5, he talks about how honour is everything. And yeah, we thought that we were going to see Grease, but no, it's Stingray. So it looks like I think that also explores granted Stingray's a lot older, but compared to the other not contestants, students rather, but for him to start up his own dojo, that's a neat thing, because he was a rather decent fighter. He even tried to get a job in security at the end of season 2, and but yeah, now he's training those who are even younger, so that's it gives him something to do, turn the karate classes into something positive, because it would have represented how Terrigal had like a really tight grip on him, but now that's gone, and yeah, he's just moving on. And then he later talks about his confidence, to which good for him. And not to mention, it was quite don't look at using interest in let's say like a neat concept for because Cobra Kai's slot is still there for the tournament, and granted, that it's still there without them knowing, but Johnny could have took took it upon himself, if he's tied up of being tied with the Magado stuff, but it looks like but yeah, we know his choice at the end, to reject Cobra Kai. Anyway, so just another go, and yeah, they're attacking first, and what he's doing is defending. And despite Robbie probably being much better at karate, Sean is still is it Sean? Did I see that name earlier? Small reference to season 1, with the incoming balls to as part of the training. And not to mention that dragon sweep Miguel attempted earlier, that did look a bit oddly cut, I will say that, but other than that, I do really like the rest of the combat, and the girls are trying to be a bit more clever, nothing too aggressive, and this is a fight that could happen in a place like this, but Sean takes the sensible route and gets them to start moving. Here's what the subtitles say. Oh yeah, security would have thrown them out anyway, so yeah, they're just leaving ahead of time. Probably shows that they don't want to fight anymore, which just a sensible thing to do. And even if they don't get Kenny, it still pays off with Tori there, so that's nice. Yeah, just the first sign of getting on, that's nice. Oh yeah, and that's some Photoshop in there. I don't think Johnny's been on Facebook for ages. But yeah, I guess Stingray still kept his gi. Well, I guess it does have his name on after all. Or maybe he did make it, because I don't remember wearing it in season 5. I don't think. Because yeah, he never really joined the dojo. Terry just bought a load of stuff for him in exchange to keep him quiet. And still talking about the meta as well. Yeah, but also just talking about the Miguel thing earlier when he punched the ball, there is already like that sense of rounding up and culminating a lot, because that's what Endgame did from time to time, and I do like those instances, but that film is under a lot of debate recently, so yeah, I won't get into it, maybe another time. Also with what Stingray was saying, yeah, definitely enough for Johnny to come back to him, because Stingray like accuses Johnny of being like weaker, I suppose, in other words, um but no, if anything, Johnny is starting to go softer, but just like the right amount softer. He's still a formidable warrior in that. And but yeah, like and also Stingray just by taking some inspiration from like little bits of Kreese. He he talks about it's inspired by Johnny, and um, even with the Johnny's reaction right there, I think he does appreciate these comments, but he's not showing the look of, oh yes, I definitely want that. I think he still can be these things, just without having anything connected with Cobra Kai. Imagine if he did try and take the Cobra Kai slot at the tournament. I bet um, Kim and Kreese would have had to like change their name or something. Do they already have a name, but they take the Cobra Kai logo? No, that's not true. Yeah, the way Kenny speaks is definitely a lot more like tougher. Yeah, I do like what Sean tries to not only does he encourage Kenny to go to karate, to give him some kind of focus, but even Sean could see that, and he's already probably heard from like the news and that Kenny should no longer be influenced by Terry, because I'm not sure how much input Kreese had upon Kenny, but Terry certainly did. Oh yeah, because I wonder when their dad is coming back. And not to mention, despite a couple of new additions later on, that don't have a lot of screen time. It's just enough to help with the stakes and that. But if anything, the new characters mainly consist of the dojo all across to where it's Kim at the moment. And where does Chris go to? Oh, I'll pay attention to the subtitles. Um, um, but yeah, like all of those the students that are introduced, and we know like tidbits, but they managed to sell enough of the idea that they're the kind of contestants that everyone will be all up against. Um, so yeah, because there's already a lot of characters to juggle with, and yeah, they have the primary ones, the secondary ones, and even the tertiary ones. Yeah, they really know. Yeah, I feel like throughout this part one, it does seem a bit more balanced. Yeah, it looks like them two are really pleased that they start to get on, especially Amanda, because she's been more involved with their rivalry, especially in season 4. Well, there you go, and it even ties to the theme of this specific episode. That's nice. Them getting on, then Johnny and Josie can get along. I got to admit, I would have liked to see a bit more of how Johnny and Chosen, how their fighting styles match against one another. Because we saw a great deal with Chosen fighting against Terry and even what's his name, Mike Bonds. That's it. Seeing how they play off, and I guess we do see a bit of Johnny versus Chosen in a bit, and maybe we might still get another chance, but um, but yeah, I just would have liked because I know that they're all on good terms, but like I said, I just would have liked to see their moves. Oh, look at this! I think yeah, even Daniel is willing to go, for the idea of oh yeah, because if Johnny was wanting to make his dojo successful anyway, then I think that's where I think Daniel would have picked up upon that um, earlier, thinking that if he would just put it under Johnny's name, then that'll make him more happy, and then for everyone could get on better. But instead, the opposite happens. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, just yeah, that's yeah, just just like quite a big step, to disconnect all of that. Like, granted, the fighting style is still going on, but it is just discontinuing that legacy. And you're also just seeing Johnny's dojo getting wrecked. I think that's just like a nearly indicator that that's no more of Johnny's legacy. Can be part of Miyagi-Do, which is um yeah, it's just rather good. Can decide to join. That's good. Oh yeah, that's like they've got on a bit. That's nice. Oh yeah, there you go. You see tidbits of their fighting because they can even learn with one another as well. Oh, yeah, there you go. And that's the last time there. He wears that red gi, which is rather cool. And I like Josen's gi as well. But now they're far more unified in. Yeah, just look at all of that white. we've seen have you seen this dojo before? No, but considering where Johnny and Terry used to go to, that oh, because yeah, Kim says how she's a sensei, so yeah, it's cool to see where she teaches. I think you probably need to be a bit more broad because you could be like, oh, does that mean Terry's back? And then that's where Chris like shows up and he's like, nah, it's me. All right, yeah, superb start to this season. What I will say is that yeah, my voice is starting to hurt, so I'll I'm like as brief as possible. Yeah, what I will say is that yeah, I'm really struggling for other commentary ideas because you might have seen. There might be actually no. I think the animation commentaries I did definitely were first, but other than maybe like talked about my own novels and that, and the other comics I've done, not as other commentaries, but as watching other things, I'm actually well, no, actually, I do have a couple of ideas, but we'll just have to wait and see. I think it is just the scheduling that and what I'm trying to prioritise. I think that's what's hindering it, and not to mention because I haven't even posted any of my commentaries as public yet, so I don't know how well they're going to be, but we'll just have to wait and see. I'll still like to finish it regardless, as a nice thing to complete. So yeah, just focus on getting this done, and then I'll see what I can do as other ideas. But anyway, so in totality in the episode, everyone's getting on, and the likes of Tori and Sam, they'll slowly get better over time, and Johnny's fully let go of Cobra Kai. We've probably seen the last of Stingrays in a really good place. The three senseis, they seem to be fine, but there's still potential conflict arising with the whole balance. Students having college coming up, and then Chris coming back. He's made it all that far, and so yeah, that'd be cool. Just seeing what happens afterwards. Yeah, just some good catching up, some good references to both the old films in the season so far. Just like a couple of snippets and quite well balanced as well. I feel like just getting like the right amount of everything because like from season 2 on to 5, the OVA there was definitely a crowding problem, but I think they're just kind of making a stop, and even the new editions, like I said, they just fulfill their story purpose quite well, and they're giving some snippets of character, and that's just enough to get the job done because we've already seen a lot of characters already. And yeah, we also just see snippets of also Johnny losing his dojo, and just seeing more of the status quo change already, and Kenny and Anthony have probably some sorting out to do. Sean's out of prison, and Daniel and Johnny already have ideas for what they're going to do once they win, and hopefully they win. And Miguel and Robbie still getting on, so that's nice. Johnny's still got the car. Yeah, of course he would actually. He would have to edit it though, if he's letting go of that legacy. But yeah, just like a very good start. Yeah, I'll start right there. Yeah, my throat is so sore. Yeah, sorry if I'm a bit underwhelming as well. Yeah, it's just because of like I said, my throat and no, be quiet. Sorry, that's Netflix. Anyway, See you in the next one. Hello, welcome to the commentary for Cobra Kai Season 6, Episode 2. We'll just get straight to it. So, on the 0 mark, 3, 2, 1, go. Alright, let's see what happens in this one. So, Kreese has come back, which definitely adds some interesting layers to this plot. Oh, yeah, we started with a flashback here, of course. I think this is the only time we see Silver as well. Car's already there. Oh, they must be going back to, this is still the early 80s, isn't it? This could be after, when we saw them training in that area. I reckon it is. Yeah, like not long after, when they discussed the Saikai Taikai, all the way, in that other flashback in season 5. Yeah, so the sensei just noticed, watching, which, I think the sensei would have been watching the students all this time until he saw, Kreese and Silver there. And it's quite bold of Kreese to, stand up to him as well. Oh, there you go, like, the multiple meaning of mercy, just when to use it. Yeah, this show still manages to maintain that grey area of these morals and approaches. Ooh. And yeah, that's where Kreese takes the bait. Yeah, there we go. That also creates the question as well, who would be the more superior fighter, Miyagi or this sensei? Or will she manage to stand up for herself as well? Yeah, and back then she wasn't allowed to be trained, and eventually she has the opportunity, thanks to Kreese. Oh yeah, because now we're about to go back to the the modern times. We get to see how Kreese and Kim now interact with one another, and she seems pleased enough because she was wondering where Kreese was in the previous season, and now it's gone to Miguel reading his personal statement, if they call them that in the US. Yeah, they're ever so tricky to write, those are. Is that a pop culture reference or another figure in the history? It's nice to see Robbie more involved as well. We already got that impression, but for him to share the feedback as well. And this is also one of the more emotional looks from Johnny as well. Oh, even Waterworks right there has a double meaning, because we think it's tears, but not anymore. There goes, the laptop is saved. Oh my gosh. Thankfully, this just looks like the latest stage of the sewage process, if it's just all that water. Sully was on the other end of this phone. He was Sully again? Unless it's just some other person that Johnny knows of. Yeah, so this is in like Miguel's well, it's what the main set of kids are. That's their kind of conflict. What's the choices they're going to make for the future of their education. And at the moment it's a just their own little conflict that doesn't always tie to. Oh, actually, no, it does have some connection to the tournament because later on Miguel's keen to be the lead and a boy of the chosen students for the Saikai Taikai, because by making him the lead, it will make him look better for the colleges, and even Eli and Dimitri, what they're choosing to do affects their friendship. Anyway, going back to this, but also just going back to the education-based conflict, it's something that's given its own space, but it also has some connection to the main plot, which is good. There he is. I reckon the actor looks like how he really looks in the flashback, and then given makeup, because I wouldn't really know how to do the opposite of that without CG. Oh yeah, I think this is where Dimitri first talks about where them two are going, or what he thinks them two are going to. But Hawk, despite still considering it, you would see a look at one point where uh, a bit of a look of just a tad unsure, because I think he's still keeping his options open. Yeah, I say that's I don't know about any of you, but I never really seen, because we've seen all sorts of cases of characters making it to American college, but to try and apply it, like, that's actually something I never really seen, and so to get that in something a bit more mainstream, yes, it's a good angle to go for, because they could have gone for a more easy approach of having them all make it to college whilst this is going on, but I think thanks to how the Psychotica will make them look good on their applications, you can see how that's a bit more in line, because I think it might make the plot a bit more too like stuff to have students be like, oh no, I'm meant to be making this good start on an essay, etc., when I'm out and about in Barcelona. I think I wouldn't really like that. Yeah, and also not to mention earlier, Miguel's been given an alternative choice that might make it easier for him, both with cost and, well, yeah, just mainly the cost. Diet Dr. Pepper, I didn't know that was a thing. I haven't had that in ages. I quite like that stuff because it's like cherry Coke, but a bit more like richer almost. I need to find out the differences. I even found out the difference between Dairy Milk and Galaxy. Dairy Milk uses actual milk, but Galaxy uses milk powder, so that's how you can tell that difference. And also, Chris talked about the Sakai Taikai with the sensei. The sensei is already aware of it. Probably from the get-go, perhaps, because we only find out about it as Daniel and Johnny finds out about it, but I reckon that's something that just gets discussed amongst the villains, but obviously none of it stays to the audience, from them. And also, not only does the sensei still have enough power in him to hit others, it still makes him look formidable, but even Kim's trying to say it was all Terry's fault, which it also is, but it looks like the sensei's just very, extremely strict on Kim. Are they both called Kim as well? I used to get a bit puzzled. Oh, I think I just spotted a bit of a continuity error. He was looking at Kreese, and then it just snapped into him looking away. Oh, and then he's looking again. Well, maybe he could have kept turning. Oh, okay, yeah, he's turned his head around again, so that's... There you go, that's flowing a bit better. So at this point, Grease is still finding, how to get in the sensei's good books, and that's where the sensei sets him on a quest. Yeah, really showing, that there is like a major, I guess just a massive obstacle, to show Grease that he earns it. Well, yeah, earns his trust in the sensei, and that that is quite bold to knock over a member of staff. Yeah. So Carlo, obviously, he was part of Silver's dojo, but he's managed to move on quite well, in comparison to Kenny, so that further explores the aftermath more. And we also get a reminder of who that guy was, because he was in the very first episode. So this must be his very third one, if we've last seen him in season 3. And also this introduces more of an idea for Eli to keep his options open. Sorry, it sounds a bit philosophical, a bit squiff then, but by the end of this episode, that's where Eli's like, I could consider this option, instead of MIT, if that's what... Is it just MIT? Yeah. Oh yeah, later on in this house searching plot, they find the brother of... Is it... Oh, Dutch? Yeah, I think that's him. Yeah, the only Cobra Kai student who hasn't appeared in this series, and yeah, the actor's recently died, which is a real shame, because I vaguely remember his screen time in the original Karate Kid film, and yeah, he does well with the choreography, just like the rest. Yeah. Oh yeah. So by the end of this episode, they do. Johnny just managed to get a new home. For everyone, which is rather nice. I remember some people thinking how slow this beginning is, and whilst they could have made the story choice to keep them in the flat, but I think by having their flat broke and then to find a new house and then hoping that the Psychotica will be successful for Johnny, I think, that does help add the tension, actually. And it adds a bit more finality to the show as well, to completely move on by staying in a new place. Well, they need a new place anyway, because they have, Robbie and Johnny's new daughter, as we're later to find out. Yeah, Johnny does show a bit of anger there against the sign, but then he later controls it, and I think that's thanks to some tips from Chosen, but I suppose we'll wait to see, because Johnny Johnny, he's still working on talking to formal people. Formal people, is that the best way to categorize them? Yeah, maybe I'll rewatch it again to become more accurate. Although I do really like this subplot. It's not every day where villains too have to go for obstacles to get somewhere. I think that's what makes Thanos's journey in Infinity War like quite interesting, because he too has to overcome obstacles and make sacrifices. Yeah. Although Kreese doesn't really sacrifice anything. If anything, he's just at great risk. And yeah, I think this also brings some questions. Of how was the knife left there in the first place? Did the sensei say it was his knife? Because they could have dropped the knife knowing that this snake was in there, or maybe like other snakes, because I don't think this snake has been around since the 40s. They might have a long living span like that, I'm not sure. But yeah, I just wonder why the knife was there in the first place. Or did the sensei say something about it? For why it was there in the first place. Could have been like another animal, could have been left in general. Did a enemy team come nearby and then they had to rush out, dropping the knife? It could be the snakes. Yeah, I guess a lot to infer, but I'm still wondering. And not to mention, going from Kreese's subplot into this, which are both tonally similar, but I think it's like one of those cases where I guess you're just in that mindset of wonder, because you're like, oh no, Kreese is bitten, what's happening? But then you're at the party and then you're also like, oh, what's happening? So it's sharing that kind of mindset, which it's different. It would be far more bad if they both have far more opposing cinematography looks, and also the tone, whether how light or dark each scene is. But despite this scene being a bit more, far more youthful, it's I think that's fine, because you have to be flexible with tones sometimes. It's just as long as it doesn't clash too much, because there's probably tons of other stories with subplots where they have like their own look and style, and that I do like that trick of Hawk there. Yeah, just goes to show how well he's fitting in with the others. And not to mention, how seeing Kyla get bullied as well. That there used to be one and now he gets picked on. Yeah, that is some transition. So yeah, there's 3 subplots at the moment, and it does manage to nearly acknowledge everyone, because obviously there's no Terry and no Kenny and Anthony, and Mike's not there yet, but obviously Mike is being treated more as a temporary character at this point, which I am getting more happy about, because he does have a cool role later on, and as the way he interacts with the others, he's definitely not the kind of character to stick around with everyone. Although we'll get to that later, because I do like what Mike brings to this story. Alright, so he's encountered them again. Although, hang on, I bet Johnny and Chosen must have been browsing other houses, because otherwise they would have seen him go to that house, because they wouldn't have gone into this house, if he was there. Because both gave each other a look of, oh no, not you again. So I bet my first assumption must be right. Anyway, yeah, Johnny's he's about to control himself a bit more. Yeah, I think it must have been some advice from Chosen earlier. Yeah, because there's that look as well. Yeah, sorry, I'm missing these subtitles. Sorry, I'm just going through these tangents. But I think that makes this commentary far more better. I do feel a bit more awake and optimistic. Oh, 83. Yeah, this must have been Johnny's last good fight, of course, before losing to Daniel. Yeah, despite not seeing the brother before, to have a character that has a connection with another one. Oh, I was right. Yeah, it is Dutch. But to have a relative to at least help with the catching up. Yeah, I think that's a good backup idea, because whilst we all know what happened with the actor recently, but with this, definitely filmed ahead of time on why the actor couldn't make it. Yeah. I think it also could be seen as convenient for another character to be like, "Oh, I remember you. I like you. Here's the house." But I think, yeah, because I think Johnny at least overcomes something by, um, by not being angry with the agent earlier. Because I tell you what, if he was aggressive towards the agent, I think this brother there would have been like, "Oh no, I remember you. You're, the karate stuff's made you more violent. No, thank you." So I think that's what would have happened instead. So yes, overcoming something else but still earning what you want. That is quite a few steps, isn't it? It's the venom, mate. Yeah, he's the only character that goes through these phases of talk to people that change from time to time. Because we saw Chris talk to a variety of people when he was asked questions. Whilst he was in prison. Yeah, of course we know that. It's this the same gay as in How I Met Your Mother? Because that was a funny cameo from both of them there. Yeah, it's just quite funny that Johnny and Daniel, they have these cameos and then they don't actually play those characters until this show, which I think has definitely helped the quadrilogy a lot. And yes, I say quadrilogy. And it's was being reminded of their connection. And yeah, just the amount of history they go through and their similarities, differences, and yeah, it's just the kind of dynamic they have. Yeah, it's a very well done protagonist villain kind of. Um, yeah, its own type of relationship, you could call it. I wonder where the snake is right now. Oh, it did. I think Johnny, no, sorry, Creasy had to get walking um, again. So did he crawl away from the snake? And this scene I see as representing Creasy finally letting go of this connection or weakness he has with Johnny. Because yeah, Terry was the one to be like, "Oh, Creasy, Johnny is what that makes you weak," but but for but yeah, for Creasy to let that go. Um, yeah, I think him making that choice, he probably would believe that he can, win the Sakataikai, which is the last like big deal. I don't know what SATSs are. Yeah, I'm rubbish with grading systems, except that the places I've been to, because every educational system goes by all sorts of different marking schemes. Oh, that's sudden fear. It stopped some people, but I think there are like some people in the background being like, oh no, if anything, they're probably just talking about it. Yeah, they're not really dancing. Even Kylo, what he wears makes him, a lot more youthful, because I think he used to wear clothes that did make him look a bit tougher and serious. But yeah, by wearing those colours, it just goes to show that um, how he's able to move on. Well, nearly move on after this. Frat. That's a word I know. Oh, I don't know. Is that a word from a clan? Because this also, this show also just has that theme of how you fit in and how you blend in, and this is just another way. There you go. His skills will come in handy. Oh, he's knocked out. There you go. If Carla gets a fight with the others. Let's see what they do. Oh, even he's trying to help out. I think he only focuses on that one goon. Oh, there you go. Good teamwork there. Oh, that's like an airdrop knee. That's good. The editing is a bit quick at times, although I think it's better once you rewatch it. There you go, just improvising a bit. Oh, that's like a good hit to the jaw. A quick like, yes mate. It's probably like a quick handshake or fist bump them two did. I would have probably preferred it if like the main characters had like a more consistent colour scheme, because I feel like I'll be able to watch them better, because I keep thinking I don't always know who fights who. Oh. That's that's some teamwork and technique that was. Yeah, is that all of them down? Oh yeah, but the Kylie's mate has like the finishing blow, doesn't he? Yeah. And it breaks this table. That must be like a prop table to do that. Yeah, they're probably leaving due to, I don't know, security, staff members, more of the mates. I don't know who they were running from. I bet that's where having sound on might have helped. Oh, first time I've seen Daniel. Yeah, that's yeah, I hope that doesn't contradict, because if you I know that lad only left because of Daniel's lack of input in season 2, because obviously but then he does come back. I wonder how they still get paid though if this wouldn't pay them. I'm rubbish at economics, so I'm not sure. Yeah, and even Johnny's just like learning more of Daniel's way of things. Yeah, because at the moment, Daniel's just offering nice advice for Johnny. But there is that moment I really like in the 5th episode of this season where they both argue about Tori, and they both could be seen as right because Daniel's like, nah, Tori shouldn't do it with what's happened, but then Johnny's like, nah, it can be used to help motivate. But yeah, we'll get to it when we get to it. That looks like could it be like a trained snake? Yeah. Why does the snake care so much about the knife? Could it be like a sense of familiarity or territory? I think later on, I think Kreese must have got hold of that knife to get the snake. Oh, 40 marks off, I suppose. But how much difference is that? I don't. I better not try and think how this grading system works. So MIT sounds like. Oh, okay. So how did Dimitri not know this? Oh, no, this is like a different MIT. Hmm. Yeah, I bet for Kyler, for a time, going on to the wrestling season 3, and then being part of Creases and then Terry's dojo, that must have been an interest for him to be a stick to. Um, Although interest is different to dreams. Yeah, because you would think that those kids were the rolling lot, and then that would make them, be, um, seen more negatively, you could say. But no, it looks like Kyler's cool, and I reckon this might be the last time we've seen Kyler as well. Given a nice ending. Yeah, because Kyler doesn't get trained with the others, so um, I do like that look of Johnny. He's even got the briefcase that's probably empty. Although he does quickly earn his spot. Just despite going for a more informal approach, he does help. Oh, he's fixed it himself. That's good. Park the briefcase. I think he meant to say where to place it. I do like his way of speaking. Yeah, she's like speaking for the audience almost. My guess is that it's empty. Or I'll laugh if it's the same briefcase as season 1. It's definitely the same suit. And he just wants to go and just have a moment of, we'd like come so far, considering what season 1 was like. I remember one YouTuber sending out like a survey, the percentage ones, and a large portion, like a very large portion, have season 1 as their favourite. And whilst I'm more subjectively into probably 4, I like the best subjectively, but I would say that the first one is the most tidy in its writing, as you could say, because everything is just more like stakes, far more of a grey area. Yeah, it's just an extremely like good sequel for these films. Oh yeah, and I heard recent news about the reboot being like going to be shared in the same universe as this, which is cool. So we're going to see Jackie Chan and Daniel be together, which is awesome. They could have brought Jackie Chan over there, but I suppose they couldn't due to budgeting issues. But no, actually, they might. Oh, I don't know. But imagine if he did appear in the Sakataikai, as like a Chinese team. That would be cool. That would. But that's assuming that Mr. Hon, continued to train students. Oh, what a snake is done. Yeah, and he's rather satisfied. Just willing to see how Kreese goes with the training. Because I feel like the following episode is where we last see Kreese plus the others in this specific setting. And then, of course, the last time we see him in this first part is the notification. When we finally go to Sakataikai. And I remember that surprising me because I thought that Sakataikai would be, for instance, if this was in 3 parts, I thought it would take place in the let's say episodes 11 to 14. I thought that's where it was going to play, and then 15 was going to be like a roundup episode of some sort. Because I forgot what show I watched, but they went for an interesting approach of, because normally the climax is placed at the final episode with a small resolution, but instead the resolution itself was the episode, and it just there was just a lot of reflecting. So I just remember that being interesting, and I don't know, like this show also puts the climaxes at the end of that final episode. So does that mean the middle 5 is the Sakataikai itself, and then I bet the last 5 will just round up all sorts. Anyway, yeah, I'm a lot more chirpier. Let's talk about this episode. So, it's got Kreese back in. Hopefully, he's still being searched, or because he escaped prison after all. He probably faked his death. Oh, maybe that's what it was. Oh, but the hospital, etc., would have reported that, right? I do hope that gets acknowledged. Maybe he might have changed his identity, because because he fakes his death during the 3rd film. Terry helped him, chill, relax in another country, but the difference is that he wasn't a criminal back then. Yeah, I just hope that kind of helps, because just in the Sakataikai, Kreese must have gone for another identity. There's no change in his identity, but also how was he able to go to Barcelona without making people think, wait, hang on, did you not fake your death? Did you escape the hospital? After being attacked in prison? There's plenty of time. I just hope that just get acknowledged. I know Kreese has his ways, but I would have liked to see something out, some answers. But anyway, so see him come back, and seeing what the sensei is like. He's still the same despite his age, and he's the way he sees Kreese being successful at his quest, and Kreese also just letting go of his weakness. That too would make it a lot of intrigue for when Kreese and Johnny makes up. It looks like they just won't be very nice to each other at all, because the last time I saw each other was when they baited Kreese into a lawyer, so a fake one, pretty much. So yeah, I think that I definitely would put them at the wrong side of each other's coin. No, that's not a phrase. They just still won't get on, but this will be probably the highest point of tension, especially with what happens later on, but we'll get to that. Kim isn't someone who has much against Daniel nor Johnny, but I can imagine some conflict being generated between those two. Even Chosen as well, because we'll wait to see. There's also some hints of what Kim's sensei class is like, just some hints of it, but we definitely get more explanation of that later on, and it's enough to generate the tension of, oh my goodness, how will our characters be able to fight them? Anyway, yeah, Johnny still has the kind of storylines that are very grounded. Just he does talk about how the tournament will help, and obviously Daniel's advice. Once again, it's advice for martial arts, which can help with real life. And yeah, at this point, Johnny's going to try and find another house, and has help from a brother, so that helps catch up another character and even induce another minor one. And it ends Kyla's story, I think. Kyla's story. Sorry, I felt like I got some words mixed up. Hopefully, hopefully, no, I don't mean that. But if that's like the end of Kyla's character, then yeah, I think that's a nice ending for him. Considering what he's been like throughout the show, because he is just a kid after all. He's not one of the senseis who would have done all sorts of unforgivable bits and bobs. Mainly in this show, actually. Yeah, and we also get introduced to what the application process is like for everyone. Yeah, just starting that off, especially with Dimitri and Eli, and and the choices they're all trying to go for, and yeah, and also just seeing Carlos mate, just like a good catch up and possibly an end to his story as well. He gets like some kind of redemption, and I like them both a bit more as well. So I think that's kind of nice because some shows would have been like, oh, they're just background characters, whatever. But no, they just managed to squeeze in these little endings. They do benefit the main cast, that's for sure, because that's definitely the most important part. So yeah, just continuing from this first episode, the first episode of this season, rather nicely, and like I said, Johnny just learning more how to be a bit more formal and sensible, in situations like, search for a house and that, and also just having to work with Daniel as well, even if it's non-pay. I suppose that's also another thing we're learning about the business as well. We're still learning these things that were introduced from the beginning, so that's also like a very nice thing. Like, granted, I'm a bit puzzled about how this voluntary process works, but I think that's probably just me not just lacking economic knowledge. Anyway, I'll see you in the next one. Hello, welcome to the commentary for Cobra Kai Season 6, Episode 3. So, a bit tight on time this time. And I'll tell you what, to make this one a tad quicker, this is something I found out. So, if you go down to the bottom left, go on to speed, and then 1.5x, you'll make the episode a tad quicker. So, anyway, we'll go 3, 2, 1, go. Yeah, this is the first time I've done this, because I recently found out about this feature on YouTube, and it's actually helped so much, because there's some videos I like to listen to, but I'm just like, can you just hurry up a bit? I'm getting a bit bored, so it does help, because I've just got so much that I like to catch up on and watch. Oh, okay, so it's a baby shower, so yeah, it's just, even though it's in the real world, I do like how the characters interact with these kind of celebrations, and we do get bits and bobs. Even Jason right there is eating something. It's Amanda being the audience again. Yeah, I guess it just brings the debate on which is trickier, but I think both sides would be right. Just like the show in season 1, both sides could be right. Yeah. As much as I do like this moment, I think, is it like one of the mums who set this up, but I guess they decided not to tell them to as a surprise. But yeah, it is just a, just like a very general box. Like Johnny looks fine, so yeah, at first you're like, oh okay, but then Daniel just gets the full the full impact. Someone even did a Lego recreation on Instagram, which made me laugh. Yeah, I do like that Instagram account. There's also like a meta line because it's not just that. It could be the karate stuff. Oh, actually, no, I don't think you're never too old to teach karate. Oh yeah, I really like how Kim describes this. Um, um, yeah, how it describes their fighting style, because with many fighting styles, you can easily be mixed up. But this one definitely stands out. It just seems to be like more hard hitting, and there's probably more complex techniques, even trickier looking techniques. Yeah. Well, there's loads of headshots that's been happening in this show, so I think he might have he might get away with doing that in the Sakataikai. Yeah, all of those poor students, the Sakataikai only has to select a good few, and then yeah, it just must be kind of tricky. Although I think every dojo is like, just choose their best ones. And this also becomes another focus. So despite some getting on, looks like this is definitely the episode where they do progress up until the end of this part one, of course. And I think this is where Devon gets a bit more involved, because she becomes handy for Johnny here, but she then just has her own conflict later on. And even talking about, where they could, where the tournament could appear at. Yeah, sorry if this episode, does become a bit fast for you, but I just personally managed to practice well enough, because I watch YouTube videos that are, 2x, which is double the speed. And yeah, the Netflix limit is 1.5. That's still half a speed extra. Okay, so I think that's where Johnny has an idea. Oh yeah, that's where they find the box as well. That was such a mystery, that was. Yeah, and what's in the box is, I think it's interesting so far, and I think it will get developed more, especially with the final episode. Oh yeah, no internet. Yeah, I think they probably might need a bit more internet. I know they had the house, it's different to the Imagi house. And I remember thinking, how come this wasn't found out before? But I think this room would have been really treasured, and how Miyagi likes to have certain things, in place. That's my two reasons, which, yeah. And yeah, he definitely built his place, he knows how to do his architecture, especially with putting up the fences and the painting. Wait, did this dojo not get told about the Psycho Taiko? Well, yeah, I think the idea was on pause because of Terry's failure, but only just amongst the adults. But now they have actually going. that's where Greece is like, okay, let's prepare for the tournament. No, that's another interesting angle, for why, Daniel won. Yeah, Chris is like taking lead, but he looks like he has some ideas for what he could do with what's his name again? Oh, yeah, even he has that look of oh dear. Waterproof shoes. Where can I get some? Well, granted, my smart ones are waterproof, I suppose, all being leather. Yeah, I'm not sure if this party manages to happen overnight, but it's still fun for that one night. How loaded is she? Do you need to buy all of them? he's definitely extra prepared. Oh yeah, this is where Johnny's own history comes in handy again. I do like it where he's like, "Oh yeah, my day we do this, this, and this," and so we just get that again. But he's just done for a more selfless purpose, which I like. Or absolutely, they're just preparing themselves for anything. Yeah, it's good to definitely think about things like that because, yeah, definitely be extremely sacred. Now look at what's in there. That. Yeah, that was a lot of questions. Yeah, because I don't think it will have anything to do with Grease's sensei. But I think this they will look into for why Miyagi kept those secrets. Yeah, and I suppose oh yeah, I don't think there's no training for the students at the moment, so it is a good time to look into the Miyagi stuff. Yeah, that's also a dynamic we haven't really seen before as well. To have a leading student who's been there for all this time, and then to have someone who's extremely rebellious and eventually takes over. Yeah, I can't really think of an example. Maybe Kenny, but Robbie would still be the better fighter. Yeah, it's more. Yeah, they all do have to be very careful because even if because you don't want to like spark the rivalry again. Although yeah, because it is just the girls gaining like enough confidence to and enough trust to um to fight one another, but without the hate behind it. Yeah, that's an extremely abstract like target. How do you like really reach that right balance? And none of these methods quite work. Probably the pellet fighting I think seems to be rather handy, but just also how they talk to each other about what they think of the past events. That is like definitely what helps them. And when they don't get on again, that's due to different reasons. Yeah, never seen boxing culture in this show, so yeah, to have that around, because in season 5 we saw that cage fighting culture, for a little bit. See how they match. Yeah, and granted we don't really see how boxing and karate, go at it, like in season 5 with the cage fighting, but Amanda's acknowledging that. Yeah, it's yeah, I don't think there's yeah, I was just trying to think like how coincidental this is, but because I guess I don't know. No, I don't think it's like that much of a coincidence. It's just they thought they were police, and then it turns out he was the one with the answers, or some of them anyway. Oh yeah, even this method doesn't work. Although what the girls point out is that it doesn't really sound like them, with how they speak. Miguel and Robbie must be out and about and busy if they don't have their phones. I wonder what Johnny said to them to borrow them both. Yeah, it does. It does eventually pay off, and then when it um, yeah. I also like that kind of look where Chris managed to look through this student, just like really being a bang on for what motivates him and what he wants. Yeah, I really like moments like that. Yeah, because he's pretty much one of the leading foes, especially the one fighting at the tournament. Yeah, because there's yeah, a lot to him already. He's a very formidable fighter. He's rebellious, and he wants to go on top, and he eventually does. Manages to fight these off. Probably some of the best ones in the dojo. Yeah, like that. Yeah, that is just. Yeah, the show does very well with that. Yeah, I'm extremely curious of how they're going to integrate one another, because even in the trailer for part 2, it looks like the fights are going to be like way more violent. Yeah, they do a lot of aero or like airborne based attacks, and the kind of offensive they go for, it's very yeah, it's like more specific and more acrobatic as well. Like this is a very intriguing fighting style, because whilst I'm on the hero's side, I'm also just very curious about how they interact. I think that's what makes fight scenes fun, because even though you root for the heroes, it's also what the villain abilities are like. yeah, when you like introducing other secrets, you have to like be very careful with what secrets you're introducing. So far, it's like they're very interesting starting points, and yeah, if it just because the moments like these could really hinder for what you think of your mentors. We already know that Miyagi is flawed because he has a drinking problem in the first film. So yeah, I'm curious to see how that pays off. Oh yeah, Toy's the first one to snap. What I also really like about this scene is that we talked about sorry, with how Sam gets betrayed in this show, with Tori being the more sympathetic one out of the two. But this chat right there just helps show both sides, more acknowledgement, more apology from them both. And even though it's benefiting both characters, it does. I think this definitely helps Sam. I do because yeah, I still don't know how I would rank these characters other than the subjectivity, like my own. But yeah, I still I like her a bit more. Yeah, this is definitely one of the best moments between them two, with what they're able to share in that. Yeah, it's like a very unique moment. And yeah, Devin is right. They're able to, them two are able to fight each other confidently. Oh yeah, and that's the main thing. Yeah, like sorry, Miyagi wasn't completely flipped. It's just only a secret, but obviously the core foundations of him is still there. I feel like that's referencing. Sorry, I missed that. Yeah, I think what Amanda just said then, I don't think that had to do with that. I think that sounds like another piece of history that I feel like was hinted before in this show. Oh yeah, I think this is the last we've seen him for now. Yeah, like having heart is definitely an abstract concept, but it's almost suggesting that having enough of um, like an internal core that will help you go so far. Or it could be, could it mean like the passion towards the sport? Because Daniel was very keen to learn in the first film, and Johnny got a bit cocky, so that it could mean that as well. Yeah, they have those close-ups, just emphasizing their trust, and yeah, there you go. They're perfectly fine with one another. Yeah, Devon doesn't have her hair tied back. I hope she's able to still fight. And I do like how them two don't really share a lot of moments, Johnny and Devon, but they're almost like good mates with one another, which yeah, it's a very unique dynamic. Yeah, Daniel's just trying to look past whatever flaws Miyagi had, or whatever he hid, from him. Yeah, I wonder if we can actually find that on YouTube. Oh, so yeah, this year they're going for a bit more variety. This year, just yeah, it just brings up the question of what they were like before, because as we find out in the final episode, well, in episode 5, Miyagi even participated in it. So yeah, just wonder, how he approached it. The chess could even have more of those answers, but we go straight to there. Maybe they might go back to the chest or something. Oh yeah, even in the way Chris lets go of them two, I bet it just generates that feeling of, oh dear, not all of us are going to make it, because like in all of the past tournaments, all of them were about to go, which you could see it as being unfair, but you never know, it could be a way of the dojos being like, hey, look how many students we got to participate, which creates the dojo's bigger chance of winning. But it looks like the Saikai Kai recognises that and has far more of a limit, which further adds to the stakes, because the chosen 6 at the end is definitely a good match, despite a good few left behind, like Kenny, Anthony at a push, and then Chris doesn't appear either, and nor does Bert, so yeah, a bit of a shame for them too. But like I said, yeah, the final 6 are rather good, although Devon has that aspect, which we'll see later on. You probably know what I mean. Oh wow, this has been about 10 minutes shorter. It's probably back to normal speed as I rewatch this. So yeah, once again, still a good continuation. Definitely the last we see of Kim's dojo for now, but we learning the more specific students, their fighter technique, and and how Chris's input is able to go there. Because if you like going to another dojo, you would think just trying to figure out what to do, but because it has because it was Chris himself being trained there as well, which helped lay down a lot of foundations of Cobra Kai, so of course he would be somewhat familiar, and yeah, to still be able to work his magic on the students, he's just still in his comfort zone. And because obviously that's what that's what that status quo is like. That's why my theory for why we don't go back there, because we already got the gist with who's going to be in the tournament. Well, some of them anyway, but we know the 2 main students there at least. Just enough personality to to give that team more layers, or the opposing team more layers. And yeah, it's probably my favourite stuff. And that the student who robbed the badge. Yeah, I'm very interested to see him again. And yeah, and then we have Sam and Tori, getting on better until it doesn't. But this definitely does feel like the last good step, because I can see them getting on again. Because I think at the end of episode 5, Tori's just I lost away. That's the impression I got. So yeah, I think they will be friends again, because they managed to make it there. Not to mention, their falling out was not because of them two, as it has been in the many times before. Yeah, because there's even other instances of, despite Sam not having a lot of screen time, she does have more of a youthful side, and she doesn't seem to have as much as that rich girl personality, which a lot of viewers might criticise her for, and not much of that the bitch side of her, which has appeared a couple of times at season 2 and 4. Just diminishing that a tad, or just, well, I haven't really just seen that at all. She's just like I said, just more acknowledging and a bit more light on her feet. It's just more likable again. Because I think season 1 probably does her the best. So it's almost like going back to that kind of personality, but obviously she's learned to gain all sorts along the way. So yeah, because this first part is quite specific on what it wants to achieve, because obviously these past seasons it's just juggling a good portion of things despite some conflicts ending earlier, because if you remember in season 5 the first half does have Miguel and Robert getting on again, but then in the latter half do you have Kreese getting more involved, although I think that's just the difference in midpoints. But because even this first part so far is still carrying on a lot of those through lines despite some possible endings, such as Kyla from the previous episode. But yeah, it is just setting up these specific things. Even in this episode sets up Miyagi's secrets. What else could be found in that chest, and they've just gone a bit more into one secret from the chest, and they found another in episode 5. So yeah, that not just in this first part, and just also just with how it's been approached. I'm just really interested with what those bits will look like later on. Also, just suddenly noticed Devon has her hair tied back there, but not later in this episode. Did she forget to tie her hair back? I don't know, minor thing. But she's become a bit more involved. She's like Johnny's buddy again. Probably would have. There is like some acknowledgement of her history, especially with her being keen to win, but she doesn't have that moment of, oh, did used to be on the opposite side, and I apologise for that. There isn't that. That was given to the dude in episode 1 of season 6, but not her. Yeah, I don't know. Hopefully there might be something about it later on, but she also just has her own issue, which we've seen in episode 4. I think it is, yeah. But also, just like the killer cliffhanger to, well, not only, having it in Barcelona is, quite an interesting, different move for that organisation, but, to choose the 6 best, we already have our guesses already, but the main students have been up to about 9 or 10, so, yeah, we're definitely, just adds that sense of, who is actually going to make it, like I said, despite our guesses. And yeah, sorry, just take a breath. Yeah, the baby shower didn't really have a lot of screen time, but Johnny finding out about how the newborn's going to be a girl, that's, and Johnny's never raised a girl ever, so the baby could come up late, like in the third part of this season. That could be cool. But yeah, it does. But finding out the gender of his baby, it does influence his choices with the sleepover, and despite the methods not working, Tori and Sam eventually get there, and it's just Johnny using his antics he learns from his history, and yes, it still does work. And what else to say? I can't think of anything else. Yeah, it's just a very cool episode. I think in the first part, I do like the increase of tension in the final episode. But I like is it when Mike comes in? I really like how he determines the students. That I've also found really interesting. So that's my favourite part. But I think the Sakotaika is just going to be such a roller coaster. That will be, especially with what's been released so far, because it's even less than a month when I record this. Anyway, hope you're enjoying it. So yeah, I'll better start going now, so I'll see ya. Hello, welcome to yet another commentary. This is season 6, episode 4 of Cobra Kai. So Yeah, we'll do the same thing as last time because I felt like it personally helped me. So once again, if you go down to, with the episode up, go down to speed and 1.5. Yeah, anyway, let's get on to what could be my favourite episode of this part 1. So, 3, 2, 1, go. Yeah. You know when in 4 comedies ago I was like struggling to think of other ideas, I've actually thought of some more, and I was thinking of doing some Christmas films, because they too haven't had much limelight on them, so yeah, I just feel like, just like all the other commentaries I've done, it's just help just help showcase what all these pieces of media have. Yeah. Also, I do like this intro. You already have Jimichi, and they're hoping that him and Hawk make it to MIT. And oh yeah, there you go. There's 12 of the main cast. I say main cast is still different. The difference between primary, secondary, and tertiary. And we also see like a look from Devon, which we find out later on. And as naturally, that all of the students like just wondering, who would make it. I do like the new Mohawk, by the way. Just a brand new style, because already they all those his hairstyle really showcases his progression as a character, and whilst that's still the case, he's gone for a more patriotic approach. Yeah, which is definitely cool. Does one country have like a representative as well? Possibly. Does it work like a revision where only one team from each country participates? Yeah, I think so. Because the Psychotaika was definitely not a public promotion. It was Terry just knowing about it, and then our good guys found out about it. Now them two are comparing they have some ideas which they don't always agree on, because obviously we know our main 4, but what about the remaining 2? And and I really like this idea they come up with. Yeah, so it's kind of cool to see him as a sensei, and also we do learn that he also wants to go to the Zaga Taika. He probably was nearly there when back in 1985. Oh yeah, just right there. Yeah, I think I was right, just in time. Yeah, I really like his gear as well. There was one interesting Instagram post I came across where it showcases all the senseis, how much Cobra Kai and Miyagi do they have in them, and Johnny's bang on in the middle because he's a balance of both. And I just thought that was fab. But yeah, Mike right here, he's definitely not messing about. And the Sakataika is already the big deal, but now it's just getting even more bigger. Yeah, that alone is just like the main point of anticipation, and it looks like to be in the middle of this final season. I like that, just going back to the old films. Probably they've had a couple of references to the old films, but it almost feels like this show is like almost like the finality. The reason I say almost is because there's the upcoming film where Ralph Macchio is going with Jackie Chan. So yeah, I think that's just like a nice little spin-off, like after the main story's ended. Yeah, because other than mixing the reboot with the original, um, yeah, what else? Yeah, like what else could you do in this universe? It just feels so fully explored. Yeah, God, you'd have to learn so many names as well. I would have kind of liked to see how Bond Eaton first agreed to it. Like, surely he would have been paid as well, because and to give him a new nickname as well, because not like I keep forgetting his main name, but yeah, I think that's what I'm going to call him for the remainder. But yeah, this seems fairly, yeah, because us as the audience, we're already familiar that the main four are already going there. But then you have Dimitri and um, Eli, who are just about made it, and then the rest who just wondering. I don't think Muscles is the kind who would make it, but then there's Anthony, Devon, and Kenny. So yeah, I think those are like the ones being like already hope to make it, but it's almost more sort of Devon's perspective. She's like the one who seems to be the most keen. Yeah, even Anthony's like set up to have potential, but no, he doesn't make it in the end. And also later on, Johnny like it ends up becoming a bit biased towards Devon, which has its pros and cons later on. Yeah, even if Devon doesn't want to disappoint, she has more motivation as well. Because just like Robbie later on, Devon too is tired of losing. Yeah, I don't think you'll be allowed to take protein. Yeah, that would cheat him, won't it? Yeah. Oh, yeah. Because if you remember those protein products in Terry's dojo, hopefully Terry was wise enough to say, "Oh, don't eat protein. As soon as this." Hopefully, he'll be sensible enough. But he really kept bending the rule book. He did. A part of me once would have made like the main six a bit more of a focus. But I suppose it does help with expanding the other characters. Especially Devon. Who we've learned good bits and bobs about, but um, he's just the show finally recognizing what cap they're on and just sticking with it. Also, it's nice to see not only her but them two as well. Just a good catch up. When was the last time we seen her? Season 3. Yeah, he is gaining more confidence, which we do see a bit more of a forthright side to him. Later on in this first part. So yeah. Oh yeah, even Miguel's picked up on on Eli's emotions. I wonder if he's had more screen time than most because Miguel's had a good amount of screen time. Because it is all about his family still. But even Devon has an episode to herself almost, even two at a push. Yeah, Johnny's just keeping his promise to Devon, which is nice. But it's just to be fair to everyone. Johnny even has two sons, so we already have some kind of idea for how everyone's doing. Oh my god, look at Kenny go. I think he's probably the quickest student, isn't he? No, go for the easier ones. Oh yeah, even them two are having some conflict against one another already, because Mike barely got to clash with Johnny, to get that, it's rather cool. Yeah, and Anthony's doing well. He's becoming a very rather good fighter. And he just goes to show he's pretty much like a Daniel equivalent, but that doesn't quite work out. Kenny's always more experienced. Oh, yep, he's doing rather good. Oh no, that's a bit of a cheat. Is he allowed to do that? I suppose you can still nab him. Oh. Kenny's reaction, he's tried to be more friendly only to do that. Oh, they're just once again. Not only does it make the Psycho Tiger more intense, but yeah, even Mike right there was just having a moment of anger, being like, yeah, he still hasn't quite forgiven them for what happened to his store. I'm surprised Devon didn't go like, hey Johnny, why do you distract him? But maybe she did, because she was like, I don't know what you two were talking about. So I can still see that being possible. Not to mention, Devon was also right next to the two lads talking about the powder earlier, so that yeah, that's a setup for later on. Yeah, and Daniel's just trying to keep Anthony up, despite him losing. Because I wonder what his role is going to be like. I think his underdog nature will definitely pay off. Just definitely not at the Psycho Tiger. And then to have some unfinished business. Yeah, I think Johnny's mindset is that obviously, the lads and the girls are all going to make it regardless, the main four, but, Devon being like one of his personal gems, yeah, I think it's just possible to also make Johnny look good, but with Mike dissing both Devon and Johnny, there we go. We just had to see how they're fighting one another, because I think with Mike's style, he would have traits of Cobra Kai because he was trained partially in the third film, but that was before he got involved with Silver. So I think he would have. I think he's probably someone who's like very good at the basics and probably has a couple of unique moves under his belt, to which yeah, it's definitely a good few. But yeah, trying to use more of his Miyagi side, which has actually helped him this time. compared to I was about to say compared to, because he lost to Terry, but that was because he didn't learn enough from Miyagi-Do when he lost in season 4. On better terms as well. Just goes to show that sometimes after a good fight you just kind of get along, which is what Kreese said in season 3, funny enough. Yeah, so they're kind of getting on. Them two clashing does lead to something in a bit. Yeah, I think Kenny right there, he wasn't trying to mock him. He's just, I think it's a very light mock, but at least he's friendly about it. But not to mention what happens to him later on, he thinks that's Anthony, which sours that again. And once again, I just wonder how that will pay off. Yeah, and thanks to what they were talking about earlier, Mike and Johnny seem to be a bit more on an equal page, which is nice. And Dimitri is the thick one, according to her. Yeah, thick with an E. She does have something else under her sleeve, but we'll see what that's like. What that is. But she's definitely this. Is she the smart one? Yeah, probably. Yeah, like the smart fighter. Because I know that Eli and Dimitri are smart, but Devon definitely applies more intelligence to her fighter style and how quick she learns. Yeah, even Eli, you would think, oh, he doesn't want to share with Kyla, but no, he's just opening more of his choices. Oh no, they haven't fallen out since season 2. No, season 3. Both, actually. Oh, there would have been one to a flag each, but now they're going to be fighting for it. If you remember later, Kenny's stuff gets spiked. We saw that expression from Devon right there. But at first you would have thought it was just her antagonism. There we go. I would say. I thought a second, I thought you had like a flare gun. Oh, look at them go. They just look faster because of the Netflix speed. Sometimes it does make these things more funnier. Somehow them two the most fastest. Wait, George, quick, choose. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, even despite how far everything's going, you don't know who's going to win. And yeah, well, actually, no, it's just like a clear path. So I think you would assume where the two flags are at. Yeah, not the best thing to hear. It's done well for Mike, though, but Joseph Daniels like, what, you both fought against one another? Devon, too, would have been like, oh no, is it actually going to take effect? But now it does. Yeah, because it's probably quick stuff, isn't it? Probably need to go a bit faster. So this is like Bert's only story role, to delay him. Gosh. And that's the last time we're going to see him. There you go, Devon's got one. Oh, she's pretending. Ah, okay. Yeah, that's true. If they, although the two paths look rather distinct, so um, yeah, because for a second you would think that the talking like slows them down, but yeah, I think they'll probably also, well, either of them have probably seen Devon get in the fight as well. Oh, he's becoming a more forgivable one, and Dimitri's become more ruthless. Oh gosh. Yeah, and after rolling over a rock, yeah, that'd be hard to get up at. But maybe, yeah, I think despite being hurt, I think um, yeah, at first you could be like, oh no, what's happened? Yeah, because he's partially glad, but he's also has a sense of, oh no, I just can't believe I did that to Eli. But if you know, Hawk, I think still has his insecurities, to be beaten by Dimitri like that and show weakness, and the falling out. Yeah, I bet Hawk, yeah, there's like no reason why he didn't get up, despite possibly being injured. There he is. Yeah, out of like the four of them, he's definitely up in the top five, one of the best violent ones. So we will understand what Daniel says, where we're like, oh no, how come Hawk didn't make it? Yeah, the main five would have definitely been there anyway. It's just Johnny and Daniel didn't know who to choose to rest. Yeah, Devon's. She's even blinking as well. She seems to do well to hide the fibbing, even showing that facade to the others. Then she double checks and they go to cheat for a position. Now that is going to be an interesting idea for later on. And I think Johnny too would find that a bit suspicious. Well, it doesn't seem too bothered. I mean, this is the start of Johnny and Daniel partially falling out as well. I think despite no Hawk, I think the team looks rather good. Yeah, because it's only Kenny and Anthony who have moments of being decent, and even likes of Chris. But yeah, does that mean? Yeah, I bet Daniel would have chosen probably Anthony above. Well, oh, actually no, definitely would have both Anthony and Hawk, but probably not Devon and Kenny. I think that's what Daniel would have gone for. Anyway, so yeah, I just really like episodes like that. Just really seeing what their abilities are like, and they're still squeezing in interesting story and character moments despite the heavy amount of action. And yeah, just also twists and turns because once again we know who we think is going to make it, but the rest of it is just a mystery. If with no Hawk, that would have who knows what that would have led to, but of course he does come back into the team, so at least that makes the team a bit more solid. I like Dimitri's position, in that box of 12. Yeah, that's yeah. Is that 12? 4, 8, 12. Yeah, it is. Yeah, nearly forgot my 4 times tables. Yeah, just see Mike back as well because I can see him coming back, like from him like a moment or two. Because I'm still wondering how Terry will come back as well, because I think I've heard bits and bobs about that, but I suppose we'll wait to see. Yeah, I'm recording this with the first 5 episodes only existing, so yeah, I'm so glad I've rewatched all of those 5 seasons before getting into this. Oh, and even as I rewatched this, just for the outro, even Dimitri mentions the Binary Brothers again. Which sadly becomes less of the case. I think they'll get on a bit more in the Sakataikai thing, but yeah, I think that's what they'll probably have to resolve on their own, and it could even mirror how Johnny and Daniel could do with getting on again, and Miguel and Robbie are also in another duel, and Sam and Tori are definitely another one, and Ian Creed's just been a nuisance to both Daniel and Johnny. So yeah, but yeah, once again, I do find episodes like that interesting, where like I said, just seeing their ability and seeing who passes the test, you could say, I just like bits and bobs like that, media. Anyway, I'm just curious to see what Johnny and Daniel will go for. Name 4, change the order. Oh, he thinks Dimitri. Okay, Dimitri and Anthony. Oh, okay. Yeah, I wonder who would have Johnny gone for? Possibly Dimitri, and oh, okay, oh yeah, for Devon fills the 6th slot. Oh, okay, I get it now. Yeah, because they both agree on the 5 of them. I see. Okay, I gotcha. But yeah, Mike is, he's admitted how all this karate stuff is, ruined his business. But he's a bit friendly with the others again, so that's nice. And I think that was still act as a nice ending to his story. But like I said, unlike Kyler, I can see how he might come into play again, because that's just the thing. Because Sakai Taikai, he's not going to fill all those 10 episodes. Because I think we're all guessing that's definitely going to be a multi-part tournament, because season 4 had that in 2 parts, but 5 parts. That sounds mad. But yeah, who knows what these last 5 episodes could be? It can involve like Johnny and his family, or how they're successful, or how they're going to finally get rid of both Cobra Kai senseis. It could be anything, which just makes it so mysterious. Because I think aside from the Sakai Taikai, and I think we would have known about the prep towards it anyway. So yeah, this 5 episodes is just totally a mystery at this point. Hearing about how dangerous all of it is, and seeing how the students might, how they might interact in it, and what the senseis will think of it, and how they might interact with other teams, what they'll be like when they meet Greece again. Like, oh my gosh, it's just a whole heap of stuff. Also, is that Coyote Creek? No, I think just a different place. Otherwise, I might have encountered Stingray again. Yeah, I would say that a little part is concerned me with how the minor characters have almost as much of a balance compared to the main 4. Because we already know that Hawk and Dimitri are like secondary compared to the main 4 children, but then Devon and Kenny and Anthony are also up there as well. Actually, no, it is choosing a select few, especially with who the final 6 students are for the Sakai Taikai, or 7, or yeah, I could say 7. I was about to say 8, but the 8th would have been, the main student from Crease's dojo, or Kim's to be more specific. I think looking back, I think it's still well balanced, because all the other tissue characters, other than Kyler, have a bit more of a send off, which kind of makes sense because he was there since the start and he's been quite prominent. And then you have the others like Kreese and Muscles, who they just exist, and with Muscles having a bit more muscle relevance, story relevance from time to time, because Chris has had little to no screen time, but at least he kind of represents how he helps let Muscles back into the team. So I think the writers are choosing wisely about the balance of all the characters. Looking back, apart, I think a lot of us would agree that we wished it wasn't that stuff to begin with, but I think we all just like these people so much at a point where you just can't really picture them without any of them, aside from maybe I don't know, because Chris and Muscles kind of represent how they were together and then they become opposing sides in season 2, but I think you could already capture that with the main characters. Yeah. Anyway, if you learn more about those in the dojos, I suppose that gives you more layers to the dojo, I suppose. Anyway, let's start right there, and I'll see you at the end of part 1. Hello, this is the final part of part 1 of Cobra Kai. Yeah, season 6, episode 5 to be precise. So yeah, I'm so excited. We once again got the speed at 1.5, and this is a slightly longer episode. So yeah, let's get into it. Yeah, not gonna lie though, there's just many moments of this show where I think they do have generally some of the best cliffhangers because of just like all of these possible outcomes, and even after seeing those outcomes, they still they still make a lot of sense. There's still a bit more of a shock value. There's still a bit of mystery with what happens afterwards. Anyway, so Tori may have made up with Sam, but she still has her mum to consider. And it looks like everything's going okay. She's almost the star of this specific episode. Oh, she knows something's up. Oh yeah, imagine if she just decided to stop training. Yeah, that would have been a completely different turn of events. I suppose it means choosing the 6 slot a bit easier. Yeah, and we also see how much that kind of affected her. But she did suffer a great deal once she stopped seeing Kreese. Although, even though what happened to her, with the punishment against, the stone, even though that wasn't Kreese's fault, it's still her mindset of feeling left out and betrayed and just being, left to suffer because Kreese in prison would have been hard. But I think he would know how to handle it. But, Tori was just totally out of her depth under Kim and Terry. Anyway, so I think Kreese nearly gets to her, or at least, definitely becomes a good backup option later on. But that kind of space, because both Johnny and Daniel, they're like, the whole Miyagi-Do way, it, I think that must have partially bothered her among everything else. But yeah, because Tori is definitely like Kreese's new, because if you like assign with which student represents which sensei, almost who they connect with the most, Kreese and Tori definitely bond the most. They spent the most time together. Just like how Miguel's like a representation of Johnny, and how Kenny could even be representation of Terry, and Sam could be the one that represents the most for Daniel. Yeah, I was about to say Mike, but we don't. Yeah, no. Anyway, so we get Robbie and Tori. They're still getting on well. That also brings up some interesting aspects later on. Or even Devon's just partially feeling guilty. Oh, could the guilt come into play? Oh yeah, even Johnny does have a bit more screen time here as well. Yeah, so choosing the 6 was tricky enough, but to who's going to be the head. I wonder how that will come into play. does that mean the ones who are chosen as the leads like have the most responsibility of doing any team task? I'd be interested to see that because they've never really had like a leading student in tournaments before, so I'm very interested. And so this goes back into taking turns with teaching students. Yeah, and I think Johnny's just also really stepping up the students for for like the possible dangers. He thinks this will help as well, just having these dummies in different different flags. I like that moment as well. Yeah, because I don't think it will just be in martial arts. You know what Johnny's doing right there with the beer bottles. Even that could even pay off. He's meditating while watching the film. I suppose she's trying to add some philosophy. Oh, well, that's a good dodge from Miguel there. Yeah, Barnes was just the start of it, which, is Barnes' purpose of the story in the long run. Yeah. Also, I was just wondering, because I've got my phone closer to me this time, I was just hoping that was easier to hear enough in past occasions. Oh yeah, and I was shown to be quite sensitive. Very sensitive about the chest. Yeah, because Amanda is just trying to say, oh, just have an open mind, but yeah, I don't think referring to the chest is the best kind of open-minded mindset to have. Sorry, but wasn't English again, wasn't it? Was it rather? Yeah, she must be a couple of weeks, even a couple of months out of push. Ah, so it's like an in-between stage. Okay. And that is what prompts him to wanting him to get the lead. Yeah. Even if Miguel and Robbie are they got on in the grand scheme of things, but now this becomes their next conflict, about being the leading lads of the six. Because from how it looks in the trailer, it looks like both of them are going to have even more conflict with who should have been the leader, which I'm very interested in. Yeah, Territory is in one of those I was about to say about I was just thinking, did the last 5 years mean, possibly since season one? But no, that the entirety of this Cobra Kai show is, let's see, it goes from somewhere at this, like September, and then the end of season 3 is Christmas, and then there's also the summer. So yeah, just getting up to 3 years at least. Yeah. And once again, we just get more differentiation, or just like how different the teaching of techniques are. Yeah. And also with the two, yeah, of course, yeah, it's the two leads. So of course, Daniel was helping two of them. Why did he not think of teaching all four of them? Oh, I suppose Miguel would have told Daniel about how they're teaching themselves in their own time. But I think he should have had all four of them I think that Daniel did say that it was his turn, but yeah, Johnny is just struggling to take turns. Yeah, this is where he is trying to cause a rebellion, which thankfully does nothing. Doesn't turn any of the colleagues, and I bet bet all the customers are like, whatever. It's the first time we've seen them two. I think they might come back in like the last 5 episodes, but I suppose we'll see what the role is like, if the business is relevant, or it's going to be relevant, because it has some relevance at the moment, that's for sure. Yeah, maybe it would have been better if they're taken in turns, but I suppose it is. I think that's just their best way of mixing, because in season 4, they tried to, speak, but they have their approaches so different that, you can't really have 2 dojos teaching them. Like Chris and Terry were almost on the same page, but Daniel and Johnny are so different in how they approach it. So so taking turns is the right thing, but it is just still trying to find that balance. Yeah, Robbie is someone who we haven't seen a lot of, other than obviously he's with Tori and getting on with Miguel's family, but all of that time he's lost, it's really bothered him. And it definitely would be a shame for him, because in the grand scheme of things, he's one of the best fighters. I wonder where he'll be going then. Probably continue training, which pays off. Yeah, personally, if I was a sensei, I would just make sure that the students know almost every way that on how to counter all sorts of attacks. But I think there is definitely more to it, with the kind of mentality, and there's all sorts. And of course, Johnny and Daniel, do teach them all sorts of techniques, and how the psychology can help with the karate. Yeah, this is Tori's first flashback. We also just see what their living conditions are like. They probably couldn't afford paper, hence why they draw on this box instead, which is a good way to improvise. Oh gosh. So what we just saw right there just further adds to, because we never knew much about Tori's dad until now. Yeah, because because the mom's just been mentioned all the time without seeing her, but now we have this flashback. I think that definitely helps. It helps us see the bond between them. Despite being younger, the bond would still be there. Yeah, because Johnny is trying to have as much of his input because as he really cares about all of the students and how well and how the psychotic could be a really good success for him. But Daniel's just also kind of keen to have it his way as well, because I think with them deciding to choose Miyagi-Do as their overall representing dojo, I think he must be thinking, should still lean more towards that. What I also like is that Johnny says the exact same words to both of them, just to goes to show how he's trying to be equal in his input for both of his sons. And they both acknowledge what's happened and they move on and apologise. Although then the next thing comes along, even if Tori becomes more of a temporary thing, although it kind of doesn't, because we see Tori again later on, because they at least have Hawkwood take a place. But I think seeing Tori again will definitely reignite part of their rivalry again, because there's that moment later on where Johnny's like, once we've done this, for now I'm just focusing on the kids, we won't do anything drastic, but we are definitely not going to see each other afterwards, because Daniel's quitting karate anyway, and hopefully they'll still get on in some way. I guess we'll just have to wait and see. And so far Miguel does well. I think Robbie's feeling a bit distracted because of no Tori. I think that seems to bother him. And I think Amanda also thought that something was up, without Tori there. And also, is it Amanda who gets the phone call, or is it from Tori's phone? I bet Tori must have chosen Amanda to be the next person to call, or the best, like the closest parent figure, or closest, or just best adult to call for if anything happened. Because Tori and Amanda, they do somewhat get on. And even Tori showing up is enough to give Robbie that confidence. But with how Tori looked, I'm surprised that Robbie didn't lose even more. Lose more concentration. Oh gosh, they still fight in their own way. I feel like Robbie's a bit more. I was about to say more precise, but people have said that Robbie's act is one of the better choreographers. There is definitely a difference, which I can't seem to find the words. Maybe Miguel's a bit more the aerodynamic one, maybe more so into the kicks, probably a bit more aggressive. And I think Robbie tries to think smarter sometimes as well. Especially when they're both on the floor, you had to do some quick thinking there. Ooh. Yeah. We haven't really seen much of them fight one another. But that definitely makes up for it. What superb fight between them two. For Robbie to win for once, that is because Miguel has had his success, and now it's almost like his turn. But his turn is during their biggest event. As far as Robbie, I think Robbie's just focusing on like what's happening at the moment. I suppose he's not really asking her how she is. And Sam's just like, what's going on? Because they're both all getting on. Oh, it's 2 hits. That's probably like a hit in the liver. Even I experienced that. Yeah, Daniel was just getting a tad panicky, but Johnny does know how to do it. And that's where makes them more vicious but less precise. Oh, so it was Amanda's phone, and that was also a name as well. So I bet Amanda must have been like, oh, just in case, please let me know about any updates of the mum if Tori's not, around. Because Tori wouldn't have her phone on there at the moment. Yeah, would it have this been Tori's winning point? I think so. I kind of lost track. And despite how slow it is, oh, good catch, Daniel. You must have gone in quick. Yeah, it's just definitely one of those cases where it's too sensitive of a subject to admit, but Johnny's just like, no, don't tell me what's going on, why are you taking control? Yeah, because even if Daniel later talks about how Tori's not obeying the Miyagi way, she's still not in the right mindset, which it's too extreme either way, too dangerous, yet too lacking in concentration. Yeah, even Amanda's just trying to be a bit more equal, between Sam and Tori. Almost, yeah, because if, Johnny's just trying to balance between 2 sons, Amanda is just trying to be nice to both her real daughter and, someone who has a kind of connection with, or some connection. I really like what we learned from Johnny there, because that also would have motivated him more with karate and how much it means to him and how he uses it to cope with his mother's passing. Oh, and Daniel never strikes in anger. Oh, that's the first time he says quiet and uses it into Daniel. Oh my gosh. The last episode may be my favourite one, but this is definitely my favourite moment of season 6 so far. Like, oh my gosh. Just you don't know who's right or wrong. Just it definitely matches well with what we've learned so far. And just a mighty cliffhanger, because people have complained about how they keep going in and out of their rivalry, but the main thing is that they're they realise they're on the same side at the end of season 3, then they probably get on at the end of season 4, and they're all good at season 5, and then in season 6 they're falling out for different reasons. But even with no Tori, at least Pork comes back in, which is rather good. Yeah, even right there, he's just a bit disappointed that he's unable to go. That's a nice box, by the way, and that must be delivered to them. I really like the look of what's it called? A headband? There must be the right word for it. I think what Daniel sees right there, I feel like the audience would capture some kind of quick glimpse, because they never have a specific shot towards it. But yeah, look how old it is. Look at the blood. Oh my gosh. Yeah, would this still be under 18s, or still like less than 20, for instance? Yeah, because if they're going to college, they would be adults, or maybe 17 at least. Oh, look at everyone with the different geese. I've been to Barcelona, it's a rather nice place. I've seen some parrots, wild green ones, although it's exciting. And it does have that church as well, the unfinished one. Yet it's unfinished, but it just looks fab with a variety of architecture. It's just a very nice place, with the vegetation. I think we will be able to explore bits and bobs around the area despite the Sakataka going on. Oh, I can see some of the names in the background. Oh my god, that looks so cool. I want to read them. Oh, look at the flags. It's like the Olympics. But yeah, they're here. And looks like I feel like Kim would have gone for a different dojo name, or he would have already had another name, um, but I think both Kreese and Kim would have decided, to redefine Cobra Kai, because Kreese believes he owns it compared to Terry, and yeah, and it's just also making up for Terry's mistake as well. Gosh, I think there might be like some kind of flashback where, um, with Kreese probably meeting her again and manipulating her into joining him. Although, as far as we can infer, um, yeah, I think, yeah, so because from her mindset, she's lost a mum. She's angry at Sam from the hitting, and also the fist would have reminded her of the mum as well. There's Amanda, who Tori would have been angry about because of uh, of trying to jab at Amanda's bias, or thinking that Amanda still has that kind of bias. But the thing is, yeah, because even in season 4, like Amanda would have been like orientated against Tori, but she still learnt more about Tori, and tried to be fair with her, wants to learn more about her. But she was also just like, well, after this season 4 tournament, her rivalry has to stop, and now she's trying to be more fair, but Tori wasn't having any of it. And it looks like they have some time to decide on certain decisions, but just looks like Tori's just completely closed everyone out, even at a point where she's not even in the mood for Robbie, which I think that could do with a bit more context, because Robbie tried to communicate with her, during her low point, which once again, it is understandable for why she would block out Robbie. Yeah, as far as we can infer so far. And yeah, just overall, just not being allowed to fight and potentially being kicked out of the team. And also, Tori talks about how her mum would have wanted her to achieve something greater, because that also adds context for why she would have been disappointed with her cheated win at the end of season 4 once she finds out about Terry. So yeah, just way more to it. So yeah, we can just assume that she's gone back to Kreese, knowing that Kreese has always been, yeah, it's just someone that she's familiar of, and Kreese is just very, just someone who gives a lot of space, someone who understands a good portion of her. So yeah, I think there will be more context of it later on, with both coming back to Kreese and also why she's decided to ghost Robbie as well. But yeah, I guess yeah, just definitely one of those elements we'll definitely learn about. Also, this arena is just a plain arena so far. I thought there would be like some obstacles involved, but maybe there's just going to be like multiple rooms, or there's a stage and a podium. So I think there's just going to be a big meeting, and then I guess we'll just see what happens next. I'm very familiar with the other teams. Let's have a closer look. I don't know which country they're part of yet. Dublin Thunder. Okay, yep, we know where that's from. Felci della Notte. Note? Okay. Furia di Furia di Pantera. That sounds European. I could be wrong. Hero Bokai. Okay, cool. iron something. Let's see if we can. I can't really see so far. I need to watch like some breakdown videos. I bet they have like more of an answer. Iron Dragons. Oh, there you go. That's another one. No, I can't really see that one. Very deep and okay, so that's what that team is like. Yeah, I don't like the past dojos. I don't think we'll get like some familiarity with how everyone's fighting style is like. But obviously, the main focus was our main characters. Although when looking at the advertising material, it looks like Barcelona's own team will be some another team that they'll interact. So I think we'll get some more familiarity of them, as like a representation of what the other teams are like, and they've probably been experienced in global events. We'll just have to wait and see, but I'm very interested in that. Temple de Vapors? Not sure. Hornet's Nest. Okay. Tiger Strike. Okay. And yeah, I just really like the flags. Yeah, I'm just gonna let the shot go past. I really like the look of the flags as well. It's a square approach when Olympic flags are, of course, rectangular. So that's an interesting approach. Hang on, I just saw Cobra Kai on the billboard. I suppose they just walk in. Yeah, so yeah, just focusing on looking straight forward. But did they not see like the Cobra Kai flag or something? Fair enough, they just must have been overly concentrating. Yeah, Cobra Kai is part of the part of that projection. Even there's a dojo Berlin. Okay. Oh, I'm very looking forward to seeing the lot. Anyway, let's conclude this part one. So just a very interesting approach to the season, because it's always stuck to this 10 episode format, but to do that as well. To go for this 3-part thing, I think it just helps with the I think they know that 15 is like quite a bit of a stretch, so they're just focusing on, they've done all the, I'm guessing they've done all the filming, and then the editing stage we're like, yeah, just do the first 5, and then once they're out, we'll do the next 5. I think that's probably with how they're doing, and but yeah, just all sorts, just Tori going back to Cruz, just seeing how she even interacts with the new team, seeing Kim again, that would add some tension. Oh yeah, because why come back to Cruz despite Kim being there? They probably apologised to one another. Yeah, we'll see. And also just rewatching the episode from the start, it looks like Cruz is definitely aware with what Terry must have got Tori through. Not to mention, I think this would be a good couple of weeks after season 5 because of Tori's injury being healed. So this is possibly the longest time gap. Yeah, possibly. Where was season 5? Oh yeah, Score was still there. So yeah, I think this is probably just getting on to like the end of the year, just before the summer. And does that mean this summer could be where the tournament is starting? I can see that happening. It doesn't step on anyone's education. And even right now, just see Eli and Dimitri, they're yet to get on with one another again. And also for Hawk to come back to the team, that's good for him. But, Lilies and Tori, because I think both Eli and Tori, I think they're definitely equal fighters. Even though there's the main 4, I think Eli is definitely. I think that's why I think it's definitely the top 5. Yeah, I'll say that, even if the main four does have more, of the focus, and obviously choosing to be the head. But yeah, it's nice for Robbie to get a bit more limelight, even Tori as well. The flashback does well to add a whole heap of context for her. And Miguel and Robbie also have something to conflict about, nothing personal, but they're just not always agreeing with the situation, and also possibly the positions they're in, just very reflective of Daniel and Johnny. Just once again, that argument between them two, that's just fantastic. I'm just tempted to watch it again. And so it's just almost, if the focus back on the main four, we have nothing going for Kenny. Devon's just showing a couple of guilty looks, and Dimitri's made a jab at Eli. So that's how much the background characters have got. But it's just just like what a cool position to be in. I didn't know we would be at the Sakai Taikari, just right this moment, like this early. I'm really excited, because I remember first hearing about it, because I thought season 5 was going to be the last, because of how Terry's Empire could be like at top peak, and I was just like, how could you make the stakes bigger? And when they just mentioned a world tournament, I was like, oh gosh, like, mine just exploded. But I think once they've added more context to it, especially thanks to season 5 adding like some bits and bobs about it, but I think the season also just really helps with the hype of it, because you just hear about how dangerous it could be. So I think that's what's really selling it. So yeah, this show overall is, they've got their final team, and all of these people have had to work for it, and even the adults trying to work the differences and trying to overcome their own problems. And yeah, it's just like a really good starting point. Chosen is in the trailer for the second part, yet we haven't seen him since episode 3 of season 6. So I bet he's just gone back to Japan, but then he's just going to fly to meet them. I wonder what he'll think of Tori leaving the team, or just his perspective on the lot. And how Miyagi's secrets could, if Miyagi's went to the Sakai Taikai, then yeah, I'll be extremely interested. I think what I also say now is that, I've been wondering about Terry, but I've also wondered about, what's his name? Is it Julie? In the 4th film. Because I've been really keen to see her, how she'll fit in. But I think with what this first part is like now, and the second part being the part of Sakai Taikai, I can somewhat see her being the final 5 episodes, just like as a way to just like help round up the series, and really good provide a good amount of reference for the 4th film. Because whilst the 4th film I think will be seen a bit more positively anyway, because of how much Cobra Kai has made that whole fictional universe, or the Miyagiverse as it's called, a bit more interesting, because the first, second and third film are already strengthened thanks to the series, thanks to like filling gaps and adding context to all of that. But the 4th film hasn't really been given much of that, other than just given, seeing more of Miyagi's history. 1 second. Yeah, sorry about that. What was I saying? But yeah, the 4th film hasn't really had that kind of treatment. Like I said, it's just another part of Miyagi's history. So yeah, I hope he at least gets something, because even in Spider-Man No Way Home, with Andrew Spider-Man giving a couple of tidbits despite having less than half an hour of screen time, and I feel like despite the flaws that some people have found within the film, at least I think with what was achieved with him, or at least attempted, I think that does make his 2 films a bit better, just giving more context, and also just a couple of payoffs as well. It just goes to show that if you're efficient enough, then it can just really help levitate another piece of work. So yeah, I think that's all I can think about. I don't want to think of too many predictions other than for what I've seen on the trailer and that, and also those screen grabs that are also being released on Instagram and such. Yeah, I'd be extremely looking forward to it. Yeah, I really can't wait. Less than a month. So yeah, like I said, first 5 seasons have been one category, and then there's the second era of just season 6 of the first 5 episodes, and then the next 5 is just me watching them and seeing how it relates to the past of the show. I haven't really. Oh, actually, no. There has been a couple of cases where both me and the show have talked about how it's been, how far it's gone, and whilst reflecting the show's own history, even the films a couple of times. Yeah, let's start right there, and I'll see you in part 2.